This is Notaspringchick with Oldecam coming to you from Wizard World in Los Angeles. And for some of you that don't know, Wizard World LA is like a small version of Comic-Con in San Diego, which is a fan convention, especially for those that love comic books. So today we are going to talk to you about collecting, as in comic books.
First off, you're never going to get rich collecting comic books. Do not go out and buy new comics and expect them to double their value in a couple of years. It takes new comics decades to increase in value, and as I found out, comics that I have that are 30 years old are actually worth less than what I paid for them 30 years ago. And don't be fooled by gimmicks such as titles like Special Collector's Edition. These come up by a truckload every month. It's just a means to resell old product in a new package. The comic value actually is determined by three major factors: age, condition of the comic, and scarcity of the comic.
If you have a comic book from the 1990s to 2000s, it is not going to be worth much.
What they actually sell for depends upon what the buyer is willing to pay. The comics of the 90s and 2000s can be found in 25-cent to $1 boxes, regardless of what the price guide says and what the price on the comic book. I mean, most of the time they're going to be in the $2, $3, $4 categories and worth nothing. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but this is the general rule for the great majority of titles out there.
You have a bunch of fairly worthless comics. Now that you overly paid for it, what do you do?
Well, you can put them in a box, put them in your garage, attic, or under your bed. Forget about them and drag them out in about 30 years. But here's a hint. Make certain you don't have a mouse problem, or you will find your collection one day worth virtually little because of the many holes in it. If you actually want to buy comics for collecting purposes only, don't mess with new comics. Buy old comics in near mint condition. Buy old printed well before 1970. The majority of my collection is 50s and 60s, well into the 70s and 80s. It's going to cost you, but a true collector who knows what they are worth is only what you're willing to pay.
My grandmother was a collector of everything you can think of, and she would tell grandfather this every time he questioned the price on something she purchased. It was worth what she was willing to pay for it.
Buy new comics because you want to read them, and therefore you won't care later if they are worth less than what you paid for them. What old comics to buy? This is really a matter of personal choice, such as when you purchase a new comic. Scarcity, age, and the condition of the comic is what counts in collecting. I personally have purchased the Overshoot Comic Grading Guide and read it. I've learned how to grade comics so I can determine if the price of the comic is fair or not.
Remember again, a comic is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it.
Small, locally run conventions are an excellent place to find good comics at reasonable prices, often way below price guides. The same goes for your local weekend flea market. Don't overlook the old-fashioned garage sales either. But you have to remember, as in the case of all of those quick rich plans on late-night television, that everyone looking for comics also knows this piece of advice.
So how does one go about selling comic books?
First, you have to have something worth the effort to sell. You can find a local Comic-Con or major dealers that will deal with you if you have what they're looking for. Selling comics online is easy. You can post your list of comics to sell along with their prices. Another option is to push your comics up for auction. eBay is a popular auction site.
Just remember that a comic book or any collectible is still only worth what one is willing to pay for it.
Just remember, a comic you paid 10 cents for 30 years ago might be worth $100 today, and a comic you paid $100 for today might be worth only 10 cents tomorrow, because...
Just remember that a comic book or any collectible is still only worth what one is willing to pay for it.